welcome back everybody to another edition of the New Earth Quantum Compass. Today we're going to be looking at a number of different issues coming up in our world, different astrological transits, including the full moon in Taurus, Pluto entering Aquarius, and Mercury going retrograde, all under the banner of the blue magnetic monkey wave spell. My name is Davyd Farrell. I'm one of your co-hosts for today.
And I'm Bella Alvaran. Welcome back to Quantum Compass.
All right, Bella. So we've been putting a lot of time and energy into this particular episode. We had a wonderful interview this morning with Afan Chimenti, a Sidereal 13-sign astrologer, which we're going to be releasing in the next couple of days. But that conversation has helped actually integrate and form a lot of what we're going to be looking at today as we continue working with the tropical Western astrology in conjunction with the Mayan time technology, or wave spells, we can say, but also starting to open up the conversation more to how do we work with a 13-sign astrology in the context of what we've been exploring in previous episodes, right, Bella?
Right. So what we've been trying to do is do our own research and understand that the number 13 wants to be integrated. The 13 constellation, which is known in the 13 signs as a Pheonix, but we want to focus our attention on the serpent constellation, which is the one that is connected to the galactic center. So let's start the conversation with the wave spell first. Okay. So we're going to start with the Mayan cosmology, talking about this glyph, which is the blue magnetic monkey. This is a wave spell of the blue magnetic monkey, and it's all about magic and play, and it sits right at the heart of the Soul King. So it's a very important glyph and wave spell for us.
Very important.
And as we follow the 13 moon cycle, we're also entering a new moon cycle for the Mayan cosmology, which is moon number 5, and it's called the Overtone moon of radiance, which runs from November 15 to December the 12th. You can see it here highlighted. It's called the Overtone, and it has a very beautiful totem, which is the peacock. And it's all to do with being in the center of attention, but center of ourselves, thinking positively, stand up for our beliefs and live by them. The totem is connected to being trustworthy, self-confident, good at discerning the truth, which is a big, big moment to do that. Also to gain recognition for your talents, but more than anything, reconnect to the life force energy and sparkling light and channel the divine love, being joyful and dancing through it. Celebration.
Right. So, and also just to point out that this particular moon, this overtone moon of radiance, starts on November the 15th, which is the same day that the wave spell of the blue magnetic monkey starts, but it's also the same day as the full moon in Taurus. So the wave spell of the monkey will be from the 15th to the 27th of November. But also just to add some interesting elements, Bella, I think, to the peacock energy, which seems really opportune at this time, right? Because the peacock is also very much connected in many spiritual, even religious traditions, we can say, to integrity, vision, and spirituality. In Greek mythology, it's connected to Hera. In Egyptian mythology, it's connected to immortality and resurrection, mainly due to its the peacock's ability to shed its feathers, which of course have these beautiful, we can say, eyes on them, which also represent in many ways intuition, or being watched over by God, we can say, or creator, which also gives some of its other qualities of protection and divinity. But what I find really interesting, following on from what we've been researching over the last couple of weeks, Bella, is how this beautiful totem animal is also connected to the sense of resurrection and rebirth. So in Christianity, very much connected to the resurrection of Christ. But also what I like about the peacock is this idea of talk the talk, but walk the walk, you know, and we have a phrase in English, maybe other cultures too, of strutting like a peacock, which is really to show off the full plumage, right? But if you're going to do that, we also need to be very aware of the shadow side of the peacock, which is arrogance and vanity. So it seems like it's a very opportune moment to be working with this energy of spirituality, of resurrection, but also of immortality. And what does that really mean as we shed our skins and step into maybe a new persona?
Yeah, and about being allowed to shine your light, radiate from the center, radiate from the heart, and not about showing off, but being empowered on what you believe in and the process that we've been going through, and to understand that we're about to create beauty as well from this point forward.
Right, and interestingly, in Hinduism, the peacock is a symbol of Lord Krishna, who wears a crown of peacock feathers, and that really represents his connection and his love of the beauty of nature, which I think is also really important at this time, as we're learning as above, so below. How are we connecting to our 3D selves that are here on planet Earth, and at the same time maintaining this connection to our galactic cosmic selves, especially through the alignment to the galactic center, all of which is going to come up in today's show, everybody. So here we are.
Good. So we're moving through the blue castle, which is the third castle of this Solkin, and we've entered the third wave spell, the blue monkey. You can see it here. And all of this castle is to do with transformation. It's the big transformation, and I'd say it's probably one of the most important wave spells, considering the movement of Pluto going into Aquarius in Western astrology.
Right.
But we'll talk about the other part of Pluto in sidereal astrology too.
Right, so I just want to point out that that's three, we can say, glyphs of the blue energy that we're working with. First of all, it's the energy of the storm, which is a blue glyph, right, Bella? We're into the blue castle of this particular Zolkin, and we're working with the blue glyph of the monkeys. So is there anything else you want to add to give our audience a little bit of an overview of what the blue energy represents in the mind?
Right, so it is everything to do with transformation. Everything to do with the blue glyphs is a different way of transformation, where the storm is catalyzing the process for everybody, because it is the year bearer energy. Then we have the blue castle, which is, okay, we're in the process. Here's where we all go through the transformation. And then the blue monkey sitting at the center of the Solkin is saying, here we go, full transformation, reconnect to the inner child and be playful around it.
Right, and working with it's the number 5 with the peacock, right? The tone of the radiance is radiating from the center. So we're at that point in the 13 moon calendar where perhaps we're being asked to go inside and radiate out from a place of our own authenticity as we shed the skins from the things of the Scorpio season and the snake, all of which is still ongoing, of course. But we're doing that at the individual level, I think, Bella, but also we're starting to see with some of the big global developments in the big narratives that have been unfolding, particularly here in the US, that we're perhaps being guided to a time where we could start to see the inner radiance of humanity, starting to bring in, you know, visions, inspiration, creativity, all of the things that we would need to build, or to use rather, to build a new Earth, I think.
I agree. So I want to show here how we are sitting in the middle of the mystical column. So we're right halfway through the Solkin, and the kin 131 is the beginning of this wave spell. We're going to go up to 143. And then the wave spell coming after that is a very powerful one too, because it's full of galactic portals. That's going to be the seed. So whatever we do here in this wave spell with magic, with going to our inner child, with being centered, with bringing creativity. By the way, the blue monkey is also connected to being the time weaver. So we're connecting here the timelines and the new Earth higher timeline. And then we go and seed everything that we do there. So it's a beautiful process and coherence.
Right, and without getting too far ahead of ourselves, something really beautiful has just occurred to me, which is the next wave spell, which will be the yellow glyph of the seed, right? Actually starts with the kin 144. So more on that in the next edition of the Quantum Compass. But I really feel, Bella, that we're in this birthing channel at this point in the process, the ascension process, that we're all engaged in both individually and collectively, because we're in a birthing process.
Yes.
And I think that that is really a central tenet that we can all work with at this time.
Here you have the two different designs to compare of the blue monkey. And let's talk a little bit about the wave spell. So what qualities do we connect to in this wave spell of play? Humor, good sense of humor, not the one that laughs at other people or is sarcastic, but more playfulness and good humor.
Is that the one where we pull each other's tails and poke each other with our fingers and have that kind of fun?
No, being nice to each other, play nicely.
Play nicely, okay.
It's also connected to the magical illusion, to being an artisan, working with crafts, the time weaver, the scriber, the trickster, could be a lot of trickster energy out there, artistic expressions, invention, unexpected change. We could see something come out of the blue. We know that we're going to talk about this in the astrology, but the moon is going to be conjunct Uranus. So we could have any unexpected changes in many different areas. And this wave spell, more than anything, I love it because it connects us to our divine child, our inner child. We have done so much work on an inner child, and now is the moment to invite your inner child to be part of your daily life and do more of the things that your inner child loves to do. Being more spontaneous, bringing more joy into our life, being more innocent and transparent.
And, you know, over the years, Bella, I think many people that I've worked with or sat in spaces with have questioned, you know, well, when does magic start? How do we make it happen? Do we have to have a Harry Potter experience with a wand and a hat and all of the rest of it? And, well, maybe that would be a lot of fun for sure. But really and truly, as the plants we're going to be looking at later in the show remind us, is that magic is with us all of the time.
Yes.
We are magic. We're magic beings. We have the ability to create magic. And everything that we're surrounded by is some aspect of either our magic or somebody else's. And just want to put that in because sometimes I feel that people think magic is something outside of them that they have to go on a really, really long course to learn. And yeah, maybe that will help. But at the heart of all of it is that we are magic.
And one of the easiest ways to reconnect with this magic is to tap into the synchronicities.
Yeah.
You can ask a question to the universe and ask it to show you different signs, and then you get on the flow. And the more that you tap into them, the more that you'll see around.
Right.
So this wave spell also has some shadow to work with. And this one would be to be too serious about the day-to-day life or any situations, to misuse humor. And here's where you could be more sarcastic or any of those, or being insensitive even, or not speaking your truth. That is a very big one. You keep on putting facades and illusions and different hats and different masks. That is part of the shadow of the blue monkey, being more of a trickster, when the transformation is to be more of your true self, to reconnect and heal your inner child. Use enjoy. What do you love to do? What did you used to do when you were a child that was so fun for you? Laugh and smile more. Smile to people outside. Sometimes it's hard, but you see people smiling back at you. We had a beautiful experience the other day being on the square, where there was this guy with his guitar, and he just came and said, "Hey, can I sing a song for you? Can I play a song? You don't have to pay anything." And he was just happy going around the square, singing songs to people and giving lots of love.
Right. And it really, you know, made us stop and think for a second. This person seemed very, very happy. He wasn't wanting anything from anybody. He just wanted to sing songs. He sung a beautiful love song for us, and it stopped us in our tracks. And we felt our hearts open to this individual we never met before. And then we watched him, you know, walk off around the square and you know, I guess intuitively or randomly stop and play songs to other people. And it's like, wow, what a beautiful thing to do, to be that happy that you just want to share your songs with other people. And so I think in many ways he was embodying that inner child that the blue monkey offers us. Yeah.
And so what else can we do? We can transform the stress of our daily life into more adventure and play, and intentionally try to do that. Even if you need to take a break that will help you get into that vibe, or even dream about, okay, what is my next adventure? What does it look like? Also to be more direct but sensitive, and obviously be super open-hearted with people during this wave spell.
Right, and you know, we are still in Scorpio season in the Western astrological system. We are still very much in the energy of death and rebirth, of alchemy, of transformation, and interestingly, the Peacock energy in some traditions is also linked to the Pheonix.
Yeah.
You know, and so we are very much in a Pheonix moment. It comes around every year during Scorpio season, but I would think, Bella, at this time that we're all being invited to be Pheonix beings and to shed our skins and to transform with the energy of magic, and to be able to harness all of these forces within us, and to understand that working with magic is also one way to alchemize.
So the summary of this wave spell is it has the action of playing, the essence of illusion, and the power of magic. So we can reconnect to our magic and the magic of the universe during this wave spell. As usual, we invite you to follow these questions day by day throughout the wave spell. Want to go into the astrology? Did you want to add something?
Well, yes, we'll come to the astrology in just a second. As you will have noticed, our regular followers, that we've been slowly slimming down perhaps how many of the nuanced astrological transits we look at, while still at the same time understanding how do we work with Western tropical astrology. And that was part of our conversation today with Athen, which we'll be sharing in more detail in the days to come. But what we're understanding is that there is a place for everything. We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as we say. We can work with Western tropical astrology. We can work with Mayan time technology and the wave spells, but we can also start to incorporate the 13 signs of the sidereal astrology as we look for a more complete and coherent as above, so below, as within, so without. We're looking to recalibrate all of these things. And as we head into the astrology, you'll see that we've picked out the three major things that are going on. There are other transits. We'll have a look at some of them maybe in the charts in a minute. But we kick off this wave spell with a full moon in Taurus at 24 degrees of Taurus. We then, just a few days into the wave spell, on the day of radiance, in fact, the same as the energy of the moon, we're going to have Pluto entering Aquarius. This is in the tropical system. We also had a look at how it would be in the Sidereal, where Pluto would literally just be entering Capricorn. So that was also very interesting. But also towards the end of the wave spell on day 11, on November the 25th, Mercury goes retrograde very, very close to the galactic center at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, all the way back to 6 degrees for December the 15th, which is very, very interestingly around the point that the Ascended Master Zach talked to us about when he said that by December the 16th, we should be through the worst of whatever is going to happen. Not that we're going to blame Mercury for that, but I think these are all with which to explore the unfolding energetic landscape that we find ourselves in.
Good. So what I've done here is added both the 13 sign sidereal astrology chart and also the tropical chart. But we're going to focus first on the chart.
Right. So I think really the main thing that we want to look at here really alluded to, which is that this full moon in Taurus, the moon is conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is the planet of unexpected changes. It's also the planet of quantum shifts, and with these energies of the full moon in Taurus, which is mirroring back to the new moon in Scorpio that we had just 2 weeks ago, when we see a full moon, we're often seeing the culmination as visions, wishes that were put into place on the new moon. And of course, as we've talked about in previous episodes, we can work with 13-day cycles, which is very much akin to the lunar cycle, but we can also work in bigger cycles of 52 days, like the castles, or even a whole Zolkin of 260 days. And I just want to add in at this point, Bella, that we are now looping back to the wave spell that happened literally day 2, well, it wasn't even a day because there was no day 2 of my accident. So it's really interesting for me at this point. At one whole Zolkin later, I've gone from being basically completely immobilized to almost being able to walk again. And that was part of my intention when I realized the energy of the monkey, of the accident. Even though I wasn't really in the best mental states, I was able to have enough clarity to understand that if I work with magic and I work with the Mayan time technology, that probably within one Zolkin, which is what actually my surgeon advised me, that I would pretty much be able to be walking again. I still have some rehabilitation to do, but I just want to share that as a hopefully a sort of inspiring story about how we can work with technology from the Mayans, but also how we work with the glyphs. And as came up actually on our recent astral clearing session last Sunday, many of our tribe were part of that oak immersion that we did at that time, but it also looped back to the previous Zolkin, which was when we did the Rainbow Bridge journey. So even within our own tribe, we can see these loops now because we have the benefit of hindsight. We can look back as a community, as a group, and say, hey, wow, we've been plowing this very, very transformational furrow, really, with these different journeys that we've been doing, but also the personal experiences. So I think that's also a really good way of understanding that sometimes Uranus brings in these moments of unexpected stuff, which in the context of an accident can seem traumatic and shocking, all of which is true in the 3D. But at a more metaphysical level, we can say, oh, wow, this is a moment for transformation, a chance for Davyd to shed his skin and to become something different. So we shouldn't be afraid of change. We shouldn't really be afraid of anything, actually, particularly as the energy of Jupiter is asking us to expand as it continues its journey through Gemini at this time. But also we've included a few fixed stars here, haven't we, Bella? Do you want to talk about those?
Well, I want to talk about what a powerful resetting moment it is, because yes, it is the blue monkey wave spell, which is a whole reset for us of like cycles of things that we've been doing, for the, as you mentioned, the Rainbow Bridge. Then we did the Oak immersion, and now it feels like, okay, it seems like we're ready to land the ark on New Earth. We've gone through a lot of things personally, but also the tribe. We do communicate with lots of people in the tribe, get lots of messages. And what is interesting about this beginning of the wave spell is that it's a super moon. It's like a supercharge that is coming to push this process. And within it is also the process of Pluto moving into Aquarius. And I wanted to highlight here almost conjunct Unul Kalai, which is the start that we talked about, which is the heart of the serpent. So the serpent has been telling us, make sure you include us and integrate us moving forward in this new process.
Right, we've included a few other things here on the chart also that are worth mentioning. So again, we're going to have a look down here where the full moon in Uranus is in Taurus, because it is conjuncting that slightly ominous star that is called Algol. Now, we've talked about this in previous wave spells. It's got an unfortunate reputation, very much connected to, we can say, demonic energy or these kinds of powerful underworld, lower frequency vibrations. But at the same time, we always want to take the flip energy and say, well, what happens when something that is that powerful on the lower note gets reversed or transformed, or rather than being inverted, is reverted? Well, that is a latent energy source that can be used for powerful change in the world. And as many people have already, I think, highlighted in other shows, this particular star is very much a part of the new president-elect's chart. So I think that that's also something interesting that we can contemplate, is like, what is the transformation happening for all of us, including these powerful beings? They're also going through a powerful transformational process. And I think that what we can see here is we've got this potentiality for sudden change, sudden acceleration. And rather than be in a place of fear and anxiety about that, we can be in a place of excitement, which is really the energy that we want to carry forwards in this show and in our own lives.
Yeah. And as we know, with the full moons, there'll be illuminations, reveals, secrets, surprises. So all of those is to be expected within this wave spell. And what we want to add here is that the plants that we're going to work with, which are Dandelion and Oak, are going to invite us to be in the present moment, in the center, see what is going on around us, but still stay in our heart, even though many things, I see like a big wave of information and disclosure hitting us very soon.
Right, and the sun is still in Scorpio. It's now heading into the final degrees of Scorpio. But what we would like to say about this is, as we've shared in previous shows, is that the sun has been passing over the Crew constellation, which really is a lot about the unification of the serpent energy of the masculine and feminine into a more Christed consciousness, which is about balance. And so I think that we're in the middle of that transformational process of balancing out our inner energies, our collective energies, so that we can actually call in that Christed consciousness energy as part of the template moving forwards into this new age.
Also to highlight that this full moon is on the axis of finances and banking and money. So maybe new surprises with digital currencies and things moving forward around that arena as well.
Right. And we also have a couple of other interesting things to point out here. Sedna, just sort of moving recently into Gemini at 0 degrees, is opposite one of our old friends, not often talked about, but we like to bring in, which is the revolutionary Hidalgo, who's just at 2 degrees there of Sagittarius, having moved on. And I think we like to bring in this energy of Hidalgo because of what it represents. It's the energy of revolution, but an inclusive revolution with the goddess as the flag head, but also what Hidalgo was known for was gathering everybody together for a common cause. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to go out and fight. That's not what we're saying at all. In fact, Hidalgo himself was a relatively peaceful person, but felt compelled in the moment to raise the banner and say, we want something different. We want a different future. In this case, it was about the future of Mexico, but also very much connected to the future of the US and even specifically to Texas, all of which is very much, again, in the loop of this present moment as perhaps one of the most powerful and largest countries in the planet is going through its own Pluto moment, its own transformational change. And we don't know what is the future of the Americas, but we do have a very strong sense that it's going to be different from what we've experienced.
A rebirth happening,
yes,
which will affect obviously not only the United States, but the whole world. As we know, we're so connected. So the currencies seem to be a big theme here, but also I like the aspect, you know, between Pluto and the moon and the conjunction with Uranus there, because it feels like the big change that affects all the people and the planet is being supported by the transformation of Pluto moving into Aquarius, or like, okay, it's for the highest good of all, everybody.
Right, and also just looping back to the Sedna aspect, you know, without having to recount the whole story of Sedna, what we generally understand is that this is a moment of letting go, and in the process of letting go, becoming something much bigger than we were originally. And, you know, I think that with it being still really in play with this moon, also still within the sphere of Uranus, but also here opposing Hidalgo, we're being offered this opportunity maybe for a peaceful inner revolution that will be reflected in our outer world. And as we let go of the things that no longer serve us, the old paradigm, the old belief systems, we can dare to be like Sedna, which is like being rebirthed into something much bigger, much greater, more expansive than we've allowed or even been permitted to be before.
Good. And so I wanted to just touch here on the sidereal chart, the 13th sign, seeing that Mercury would be in Ophiuchus. And so what does that actually mean? Is it through ideas and the messenger of the gods bringing us ideas and revelations and more information that we do that process that is more connected to a soul level for us and for the planet?
Right, and it's a little wide. I mean, the galactic center is generally reckoned to be about 26 to 27 degrees of Sagittarius in the Western astrology. However, in Sidereal, it's within 2 degrees into the sign of Ophiuchus, which we're going to be talking about a lot more in the weeks to come. But also, what is it that Mercury, perhaps in that slightly wide, but I would say still conjunct 4-degree orb with the galactic center, is what is it that Mercury wants to communicate to us from the galactic center, which really is also something that's within us. It's not way out there. It's the, you know, as above, so below, as within, so without. And perhaps we're being guided, I think, Bella, to think about not just our earthly selves, but our galactic selves, our cosmological selves, that expanded version of ourselves.
Yes, I agree. Anything else on this super full moon?
Well, I mean, obviously, Pluto is in aspect, sort of squaring off somehow with some of these energies. However, at the same time, we have Saturn still in opposition to Orcus. Saturn is also, I think, just gone stationary direct in the last few days, and so we'll be moving forwards again through Pisces, still trying to reassemble, Father Time trying to reassemble himself in the more watery, unfamiliar territories of Pisces. But at the same time, and I feel like we've seen this already in our personal lives, with Orcus, the oath breaker, and there being related to contracts, is, are we still enmeshed in contracts that don't serve us, maybe from the old system, the old structure? Do we need to review all areas of our life and see where do we have contracts that either need to be dissolved or reformed or renegotiated? And I would suggest or invite even our audience to allow that idea to permeate all situations that maybe are giving some sort of challenge to you right now. Is this something that can be dissolved, transformed, or maybe just adapted and renegotiated into something that is more suitable for everybody involved moving forwards?
And I like that exact sextile with Ceres and Anunca High, saying the serpent energy is part of the energy of the earth. It's part of us, and it's part of the energy of the earth. So Ceres and being in Capricorn is reminding us of the same. Okay, what structures are you going to incorporate that help the earth and help integrate the energy of the earth within our lives? What are we going to change to make it better? We can replace a lot of things that are not good for the earth, like technologies and cleaning up and so many things that can start being activated for that.
Right, and as I alluded to, you know, with all of this, Pluto is actually squaring off against the true black moon Lilith, which is actually in a relatively wide 15-degree orb to the mean black moon Lilith, which we can see is actually conjuncting the sacred flame of Vesta. So I feel that this Pluto full moon in Taurus, Bella, is also going to highlight maybe inequalities between the masculine and feminine, maybe the slighted or wounded aspect of the feminine, which Black Moon Lilith is always going to bring up into our awareness. And as many other astrologers have highlighted, although we haven't put it on our chart, Eris still conjunct Chiron, still very much in play also. So what do you think, Bella? I mean, as we've been talking about this whole rebalancing of the masculine and feminine energy, do you see that playing out here from this full moon onwards?
Absolutely. I think it's part of what the conversation we've been having, and through every one of our courses is been key to be able to integrate our masculine, our feminine, our ability to receive and to give, to synchronize and harmonize our left and right hemisphere, and so that we are more in coherence with ourselves, so that our relationships reflect the same as well, because we're all mirrors of the other.
Right, beautiful. And we've also included here, for those of you who don't know, at 28 degrees of Sagittarius, the asteroid known as Quercus, which of course is the Latin name for the oak. It's not particularly speaking too much in this chart, although I do see that it's in a square to Neptune in Pisces. So we can try to interpret that as we will, but we're going to take a little look again at the oak.
Isn't it close to the center of the galactic?
That's very true. Well spotted, actually. Yeah. So then maybe that's why we decided to include it. Sometimes we get intuitive hits to put things in, and it's only when we look at the charts doing so that it actually speaks to us, because what we're looking at is a holographic piece of information, really. And yes, the galactic center is very important. And the oak's connection to the galactic center is very much actually speaking of a large part of what this beautiful tree can share more with us. But we're getting ahead of ourselves slightly. We'll come to that in due course.
Okay, do you want to go to the next chart?
Yeah, is there anything else you want to say about from the point of view of the sidereal, or are we going to leave that to our other special?
Yeah, we'll leave it to the specialist. We're still researching, but I think it's important to start seeing the comparisons. And I love the conversation with Athen, where he said, yeah, you know, you can use both of them, where the sidereal is more of the soul level astrology, and we connect more to the cosmos just by looking at it. And the tropical is more of the physical, the 3D mundane astrology.
Right, which is why we think these two systems can work really well, is that we do have a multidimensional nature, and some of it is very much down here in the dense 3D world, where we have seasonal cycles, which the tropical system is very, very good at helping us navigate, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere, I think. But at the same time, many of us are feeling the impulse or intuition to expand ourselves into our more cosmological nature, hence why we talk a lot about the beautiful stellar nations pathway that works with our fixed star astrology through our natal birth charts, but also, of course, through the Mayan time waves, but also now looking at the stars as they are above us in the same way that our ancestors used to. So we're integrating and incorporating many different aspects of ourselves all at once. And we don't wish to overwhelm either ourselves or any of you, but more of an invitation to step into these different aspects of ourselves, all of which can be read simultaneously.
Yeah, because it reconnects us with our multidimensional selves. We can understand that we can read our 3D, 4D, 5D, and beyond if you are capable of holding all of the information. And some will be used for something, some for others, depending on your intuition, which is key. So the next charts that we pull up here are the one about Pluto entering Aquarius in the traditional astrology.
Right. So, I mean, this has been talked about ad infinitum, I think, for a long time by many astrologers, us included. But we wanted to highlight it because it is a really important part of this incoming wave spell. And I think that it's going to be deeply connected to whatever illumination or revelations may come with the full moon just a few days before. And what I'd like to share actually with our audience, Bella, is some of my own meditational experiences from the last few weeks where I felt a very palpable shift in the energetic realms, and suddenly the presence of lots of new extraterrestrial life, literally just off planet, watching what is going on here in this transformational ascension process that humanity and the Earth are engaged in. And as a consequence, it suddenly feels like there is a lot more quantum new technology available in the ethers. It may not have been fully downloaded as blueprints yet into the 3D, although I think we can see there are individuals very much in our collective awareness who seem to represent that energy. But also I feel a sense of excitement, Bella, that we are on the verge of a new quantum breakthrough in terms of technology that feels so close that it's almost within us already.
Yeah, it is a very exciting process. I mean, this hasn't happened for over 200 years. And we mentioned this in the conversation with Athen, how it's a rebirth, the return of Pluto as well on the US chart. But more than anything, it's a whole change of an epoch. Like we're entering new territory again because we're never in the same cycle. We're spiraling up. So what this is going to be for us, to me, speaks about new earth and what do we have. Can we show all of the inner work we've done and come up with the new ideas that are going to be positive and revolutionary and innovative so that we create the best place for everybody to coexist?
Right, absolutely. And the energy of the Aquarian age feels different and it may be startling a little bit. And I think that that's part of the process we could go through whilst Pluto transits through the first few degrees of Aquarius in the coming months and even the next year or so. And I think that it would be easy to be startled by or be afraid of change. And yet at the same time, change is upon us and either we resist it like Luddites, maybe causing more suffering for ourselves, or we say, hey, you know, I've got many question marks about a lot of what is being presented in my external world. But if I look inwards and see what transformational changes have happened to me as an individual over, I would say, particularly the last 3 to 4 years, and to draw confidence from that, you know, my inner world should be reflected to me in the outer world, and that should be true for everybody. So even if there are chaotic situations being presented to us or even appearing around us, if we're grounded and centered and working on our inner space, then we should actually be okay. And then as Zach talked about, and as myself and Pete talked about in a recent webinar, we're in the eye of the storm. But in the eye of the storm, there is no chaos. The chaos is all around us. So I think that these are important motifs to hold as we move forward. As Pluto enters Aquarius, I think we are likely to have lots of big shocks.
Yeah. And I see lots of trines here that I
Yes.
think are supporting that move into Aquarius. We went more into it in the conversation with Athen when it referred to how Pluto is actually entering Capricorn if we look at the sidereal astrology, but it's synchronistically, they are shifting in both astrologies. So it's quite important, I think.
Yeah, there are many trines. There's also still a fairly strong cascade of sextiles at work. So we've got lots of really supportive energy and actually beneficially with some of the more traditionally challenging planets. So, you know, Pluto is in this long-standing sextile with Neptune, which ordinarily could be, those two planets can be challenging because they force us to look at illusion, even delusion, but also how do we change with that with Pluto sort of overview. But also, again, we can see here our friend Hidalgo is also still in sextile with Pluto and probably will be for a little while. So that revolutionary energy can be combined with the transformational energy of Pluto as it starts its new journey. So I think these are really exciting times.
Yes, and I think he's inviting us to be inclusive, including the 13th sign, the Serpent's constellation. And we've talked a lot about it when we talked about Ophiuchus and how it's the 13th hidden sign and how the Serpent is connected directly to the galactic center. And we are receiving life force and more photons and light codes from the center of the galaxy, from Hunabku. So we need to be aware and incorporate that into our astrology as well, because we have been disconnected from it for thousands of years, since the Sumerian or Babylonian times.
Right, and you know, in these times of change that we all signed up for, we all came here to experience, we can have those moments of doubt or anxiety or fear. But certainly as an anchor point, one of the ones that we've been using for a long time is to understand that everything is okay. We signed up for this, we've crossed the threshold of the difficult things that were going to happen. It feels energetically that we are now just watching the end of the movie. There isn't really anything that can hurt us at a big level. However, that doesn't mean that we might not still have some inner chaos and shadow and density that we need to work through.
Well, what I do see is an initiation
Yes.
for the masses, for
Yes.
people that haven't been paying attention, and it's not for us or for those that have been doing more of the spiritual work to tell others, I told you so,
Yeah.
but more to hold space, because the majority of the people in the planet have not looked into their spiritual side, their shadow, or the information that is coming out as disclosure. So I think this is where we kind of step into our roles, our healers, with meditations, with every tool that we have in our bag to help other people, to help ourselves, to help those around us, and to share what we can so that there is a more smooth transition. But I do feel that there will be an initiation for the masses.
Yeah, and I was just making some notes here as you were saying that. One of the things that we've talked a lot about in recent times is the polarity, the division within our world, and how do we transcend that? And maybe for those of us who are more aware of these processes, who understand that we often live in a divided, polarized world, particularly through the narratives that are presented to us, we can all intend and wish for, particularly in media, that is less divisive, that is more inclusive, but also as an ongoing daily meditation to observe where we get polarized or we get divided, either in conversations with others or in our viewpoints on things, or getting triggered by maybe narratives being presented to us. And every time we feel that sense of, oh, well, that doesn't fit with what I believe, maybe take some time to step back and say, actually, it doesn't matter whether it doesn't fit with what I believe. It's actually good that other people have different perspectives because it allows a much bigger debate. But if we get into a conversation or a kind of a headbutting, it's like, I'm right and you're wrong and my truth is more important than your truth, then that's when we need to take that moment and say, hey, I'm getting polarized here. Maybe I need to step back and look at how to alchemize that, which of course is a day 2 process in a way.
Which is why the previous wave spell, the one where we're recording this video, is still the wave spell of the mirror. And I'm sure that many of you have had situations present and mirror back at you what work still needed to be done, what needed to be let go of, what do you still have to polish within yourself, what are you projecting at others, but actually need to be looked at from the inside.
Right. I was saying to Bella just the other day that from a personal perspective, I think the energy of the white mirror is one of the more difficult ones within the Zolkin, because it forces us to look at the mirror of the world around us, which of course is somehow reflected from what's going on within us. And that can be tough. That's tough work sometimes. But when we do have those breakthroughs and we start to see a more positive, beneficial, happy, harmonious world being reflected around us, then we can take some, I think, kudos for what we may have been working on.
And I'd like to share here something that one of the members of the tribe said in the last clearing session that we did. And is that it feels like every time we come through the mystical column of the Soulkin, our hearts are weighed again by doing the Soulkin, by doing the wave spell of the mirror, seeing the reflection, the chamber, the hall of mirrors. Are you still projecting? Where is your heart at? So that by the when we come to the point, which is the center, the blue monkey, we can say, okay, I'm in my heart, I'm in transparency and clarity and innocence, ready to move forward, which is what we want to achieve, get to that point of light, beautiful energy that is joyful like children, so we can move on to the next stage.
Yeah, so whether we call it Day of Atonement, Judgment Day, the weighing of the heart by Matt, it is an important process, and it isn't one that we can really sidestep or get around much as we might want to, because really what we're being asked to do is to weigh the density, to weigh the shadow, the things that actually don't serve us. But if we haven't looked at them or we've been blindsided by them, they should have come up if they haven't already during Scorpio season. So rather than push them away and say, I don't want to deal with those things, what I would suggest is invite them in, thank them for what they're giving you in your life, what they've given you before, and say, thank you very much. But however, I want to alchemize and transform those energies now so that when I do go through the process of having my heart weighed, I can have some level of confidence that it's going to come out in that nice, balanced way. And if it doesn't, well, it doesn't matter so much. It just means you've got a little bit more of, how to say, alchemy work to do. And that can also be fun and transformational. So there is nothing to be worried about. There is just a sense of like progression and evolution.
And that is what the Serpent's constellation or Pheonix constellation reminds us of, is the integration of the two aspects of the serpents, which is the healing and the teaching. And it's a constant process. It's not like we do it once and that's it. We keep on doing it. Every wave spell, we keep on reviewing the polarities. Where are we with the polarities? And every wave spell has a different flavor, but every wave spell has a day 2 of challenge and obstacles to review those processes of integration of masculine and feminine, of healing and teaching, or healing and wisdom or knowledge.
Right, and here on this slide, Bella has listed just a few of the female and male stars that we can look to see if they're in our charts. And it's too much information to put here, but if you go on to one of the useful software programs, like on astro.com, for example, dibs to those guys for providing these services, you can actually type in the fixed stars and actually have them appear as we did here in the chart. So you can quickly see if any of these stars are getting activated for you at this time.
Good. So we wanted to mention that the integration of the wisdom of the Serpent's constellation, which is what has made us come up to this point.
So this is something that me and Bella were guided to put out just quite recently, really, and we've already had a number of our tribe go through this process with us. It's really where me and Bella combine our male and female serpent energies, our masculine and feminine energies, but also the different skill sets that we have as teachers and healers to activate the grail within. This is really talking about that activation of the Christ consciousness that the stars in the Crew constellation hold, and we actually both have in our own astrology, which is partly what guided us to set this up. But the process is really quite simple. It's about clearing, healing, and activation. So from my side, there's a process through a one-to-one session that is really clearing the field of anything that no longer serves as any attachment, unhelpful energies, but also looking to see if there's any still soul fragmentation, any recalling, reintegration of any soul fragments, or we can say past timeline trauma experiences that haven't been brought forward into the present moment for alchemizing and release, which Ella steps in.
Yeah, where I review the biocharts or any biodecoding that needs to be done of core wounds on this timeline or on a different timeline. And we also go into the Mayan cosmology. What is the oracle? What is the archetype? How can you work with it? How to use your wave spell? When is your next wave spell coming up? How do you activate those codes within you and your higher purpose?
Right, I would say just from the first few brothers and sisters that we've been working with, the sense of in Lakesh is so powerful. It's like almost having mirror conversations with other aspects of ourselves. And, you know, even from the point of view of the ones, you know, hosting these sessions with clients or brothers and sisters, it's felt on both sides. And that's been really, really beautiful because as we all work together, we're coming to understand that we also have a group oversoul, whether it's with you, our audience, our tribe members at QPW, or as a collective, as humanity, we're all understanding that when we put all of the pieces of our beautiful selves together, we get something much bigger again, which is super cool.
Okay, so you can find more information about it on our website. It's called Activating the Grail Within under the tab of services.
Right, and the link for that will be in the show notes. And for those of you who are not aware of show notes, I often find that many people don't know. They're immediately underneath the video, and there's lots of links there to all the things we've talked about in the videos. But also, this is my time to say, please do hit like and subscribe in our ongoing struggles with the algorithmic rhythms that perhaps are not in our favor at these times. So please do that. And as always, Bella, we love to get the comments on the YouTube video, but also the wonderful emails we get from people because it inspires us to keep going. We love the personal stories that reflect back many of the things that we talk about. And again, it creates that sense of in Lakesh, I am another you.
Mm-hmm. Now into the plants. We wanted to invite our two favorite plants, and they've been with us from the beginning of everything we have done since we got together, which is Dandelion and Oak. Dandelion to help us be in the moment and bring more joy into our life, like the blue monkey is inviting us to do, and the peacock energy, and the oak to be centered, to be present, and to transcend timelines and existence even.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about both of these a lot, and for any of our regular followers and audience, you've probably even participated in the dandelion immersion or the oak immersion or other journeys where we've included these beautiful and powerful beings, but they really do represent similar energies, but in a slightly different way. They're both very connected to time, the breakdown of time, but also to magic. Dandelion, in its ability to show us synchronicities, shows us magic unfolding in the present moment. Of course, it has this beautiful seed head, which is also something really beautiful to think about at these times, blowing. If you can still find a seed head around, and I have seen a couple actually, depending on where you are in the world, but to blow one of those seed heads is to blow beautiful prayers and wishes to the universe and to call those in. And this is a great time to do that whilst we're in the central column.
You know what it looks like the crystal grid network around the planet as well.
Right. We've been reading a lot recently about the nature of the divine sparks that we all carry within us. And I feel when I look at the dandelion head, it's a whole collection of bright sparks or divine sparks even. And there are so many beautiful things to say about dandelion as a being. Many of you will have already met this beautiful being, very connected to the sun, very connected to the lions, to Sirius, to Leo even. But also with the seed head very connected to the moon and with the yellow flower to the sun. So it's carrying that balance again within it, or it's traditionally looked at being more of a masculine yang energy, but does carry this energy of the feminine. So we can work with both energies within dandelion.
I think what it came to do when it first got us together somehow is to be the herald of the new world, the new seeds. What is the new to come, the new earth? Are you one of the seeds? Have you activated yourself to be part of this new world?
Right. And Bella was reminding me yesterday that when we first met on a really beautiful experience several years ago, one of the things we actually did was to pick a dandelion head and to blow all of those beautiful visions and wishes, many of which have already come true. So dandelion is very much about being in the moment, being present with ourselves, allowing the magic to appear in front of us. But one of its other qualities is its ability to change its DNA, to be adaptable and flexible to wherever it finds itself, to wherever its seeds land, which also speaks to one of its qualities we work with at the quantum level, which is repairing our DNA, all of which is necessary because it's either been switched off, corrupted, or is incoherent. And as we repair it, it allows us to reconnect to our much more cosmological selves, which conveniently is where the oak steps in. And, you know, this is the tree of the three doors. We've talked about all of this before, but just to kind of bring it to a succinct point, this is a tree that really in many ways for me represents as above, so below, but also as within, so without. This is our solar plexus ally. So it creates that sense of self. It's very much connected again to the energy of the lions, to kingship, to leadership, but also to holding space. The oak holds a beautiful space, not just for itself. It's very clear when you see an oak tree and the space it creates for itself, but it also creates a space for squirrels to live, for other animals and birds to live in its branches or even in its roots, but also sometimes even occasionally for other trees to grow out of its branches. So
the acorns as well are super important.
The acorns are super important. And what I often think about this tree is its sense of I am enough. And because I am enough, I can also give my space over to others who maybe still need something more, or they need some more protection or more support. But also, this tree connects us really beautifully, as you pointed out on the astrology, to the galactic center. Its roots go deep down into Mother Earth and so connects us below. But its branches and its even its connection to electricity, we could say even to Uranus, reach out into the heavens and connect us to our star selves. And because it's connected in this moment through the asteroid Quercus to the galactic center, I really feel better that this beautiful tree, this masterful tree that so many of us remember from childhood or other points in our lives, is asking us to open ourselves up to remembrance of who we truly are.
Yeah, and because we're working at the center of the soul, so appropriate, is absolutely perfect and synchronous.
It's a bit like we're actually in the center of the oak tree waiting to be birthed by the oak tree, which I think is super cool.
Just a reminder that the navigation guide to quantum consciousness is available on our website. It's gone back to its price. You can purchase one chapter at the time, or the whole chapter where you save like the price of 3 or something, like 13 for the price of 10. Something
right.
Like
so quite a few of you have been emailing and messaging us in recent weeks asking how can you understand more about working with the Mayan time technology. So there are two aspects of that. First of all, there are the 20 glyphs, which Bella put together, a beautiful 6-part series, which I think is the next slide, the Mayan time and magic, but then also the 13 tones, which we can say are commensurate with the ascension process, the stairway to heaven, the 13 steps of creation. It's not an idle boast or anything. We're not doing a peacock strutting the stuff here. We've worked through this process ourselves. We do it every 13 days with the wavespell. It works so amazingly well. But when you integrate step by step each of the 13 tones, each of the 13 steps, by the time you reach point number 13, which is really day of transcendence in a wavespell, you will have arrived at a place that you can never have imagined of when you started out on the path at step 1.
And in the words of Zach, it is the shortcut through the dimensional shift. basically, to the new Earth.
Which, coming from a 26th dimensional being, which when you times 13 by 2 gives you an indication of perhaps that Zach knows what he's talking about, I would say is a very, very good recommendation. Absolutely love doing this course, Bella, with you. Had so much fun, and we have a band of our tribe members who've completed the process, and for sure, like us, they're not in the same place they were when they started that journey.
Yes, and also available the Mayan Time and Magic course also on the platform. And this coming Sunday is our very last clearing session with the groups.
Right, so we're at point number 10, really, which of course is manifestation. We were guided to do 10 sessions that are now coming to a culmination 2.5 months later. The journey has taken our merry band, we can say, for a variety of different stages, us included. But this is going to finish, strangely enough, we can say, just a few days before Pluto enters Aquarius.
Well, it was planned that way, so that
it was divinely planned that way.
Help the process of those 2 months. It was
2.5 months, yeah, 10 sessions.
While Pluto does the shift into Aquarius.
So you can still sign up for the final week. Again, the link is in the show notes. We're going to have a slightly different energy to this week. There will still be some clearing work, but as the sessions have moved through, as the group has got more comfortable with the work, as we've created a collective field, new people have come in, benefited from that. But also we felt the need to change how we were doing things, the language we were using, even about clearings become more transformational, more alchemical. And as a group, we've really come to a place now where we feel like we're about to step out of that world of density into something much more expansive, which with Pluto entering Aquarius seems like a real dandelion kind of a moment.
That's right. So that is very much it. What else did you want to share on this session?
I think if I want to share anything in conclusion, Bella, is that through observing these cycles, through the process, particularly from my own point of view of healing this year, we're being invited to let go of the things that no longer serve us. And that's going to look different for all of us. But I think as we do that, we release the density, we give more space within our field for the light that's streaming onto the planet, the light from the galactic center, from the sun. And as we do that, it allows us to reconnect and even receive those light codes that really contain the cosmological aspects of ourself that maybe we got disconnected from at some point down here.
Yeah, and I'd like to invite everybody to dream again, like when we were children. What do you want for the earth? What do you want for your family? What do you want for yourself? I think it's the time to allow ourselves to dream. And even though we're seeing things collapsing around us, somebody has to start rebuilding. And I think we are the ones called to do that. You've been doing your inner work. You've been doing lots of work for other people. We know that many of the people that follow us have their own groups and communities. So let's get ready for the next part, for getting off the ark and start building up the new earth.
And we can use the energy of the peacock, and I think there's no harm in our authenticity to show our plumage of feathers, to show the colorful natures that we have. But if we're going to talk the talk and give it, this sense of authenticity, we need to be able to walk that walk too, because the two go hand in hand. And that's where the weighing of the scales and seeing whether we're in our integrity and authenticity is a valid exercise. And rather than trying to grandstand and show some aspect of ourselves or trying to hide some other aspect of ourselves, that doesn't create balance. So we've got this beautiful, colorful, visionary, inspirational totem animal that also speaks of resurrection, death and rebirth, but also the phoenix rising to be the eagle. And what's interesting, I forgot to mention this actually, is that on the day that Pluto enters Aquarius, the glyph of that day is, Bella?
The eagle.
It's the eagle. It's the blue eagle. So that is really the totem or the glyph or the animal that we often associate with the non-dual perspective of the eagle's perch. Gives us that more lofty perspective, particularly on ourselves as much as anything else. And so I think that really is a beautiful energy to enter this new era. Because whatever we all think, we are about to enter a new era. It's already beginning, but I think that this particular wave spell, Bella, is going to really accelerate that process.
Okay, so let's bring our inner child into our daily lives and bring back the Baba Boom. As Zach could say, let's bring back that Baba Boom into our lives as well.
Right, and maybe by the time some of you get to watch this, the interview with the really interesting astrologer, Afin Chimenti, is going to be available, and definitely recommend checking that out too. It's not super long, but it's a really interesting sort of dive into how to use different types of astrology, which gives us another perspective on ourselves, all of which is super useful, I think, as we shed our skins and evolve Pheonix-like into something much bigger and more expansive.
In Lakesh, thank you for being here with us.
In Lakesh, I am another you. Bye for now.